Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing an Ancient Gear deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one because you guys have been requesting this one a lot recently, and I'm really excited to do an update of this one because it is one of the biggest OTK decks of the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That just cranks out humongous machine monsters that can OTK your opponent in the blink of an eye with stuff like Ancient Gear Chaos Giant and Ancient Gear Golem, and even Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem coming out with a whopping 400 attack points with stuff like limited removal to be able to OTK your opponent and swarm the field with stuff like Gear Town and stuff like that in this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're only going to be playing one copy of Ancient Gear Golem. You only need the one copy of the Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, or excuse me, Ancient Gear Golem. You only need one copy of it, but we also do need two copies of Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. Now, I do play the Ultimate Pound at 2 because it does count as Ancient Gear Golem and inflicts piercing damage when it battles, and up to twice per turn when this attacking card destroys an opponent's monster by battle. You can discard a machine monster, and then this card can attack again in a row, and if this card is on the field, it's destroyed by battle or by card effect. You can add a polymerization from your deck to your hand, and if you do, add an Ancient Gear monster from your graveyard to your hand. We don't actually play polymerization in this deck, but I just kind of use it as the materials to have to be able to, you know, fusion summon away with stuff like Ancient Gear Fusion to be able to just special summon all sorts of stuff. Then we play two copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon is basically here because if it's tribute summoned by summoning Ancient Gear monsters, attacks defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. And then if this card was tribute summoned by tributing a gadget monster, you can make a second attack during each battle phase. And if a spell trap or spell traps cannot be activated during damage step, and at the end of the battle damage step, if this card attacks, you can destroy a spell or trap on the field. But the cool thing about this card is it's easy to special summon out from the deck to be able to just do all sorts of shenanigans against your opponent. 3 copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern. Basically, Ancient Gear Wyvern has the ability that when it's normal or special summon, you get to add an Ancient Gear card from your deck to your hand. That's why we only play like 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion because it's searchable with this card. And it's really good to just have this card as a searcher. 2 copies of Ancient Gear Frame because it is searchable. You can discard a card and add an Ancient Gear Golem or a spell or trap that specifically lists Ancient Gear Golem in its card text from your deck to your hand, and then you can only use the effect of Ancient Gear Frame once per turn. And if this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps in the end of the battle phase. And if this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon up to 3 Ancient Gear Golem and/or Ultimate Pounds from your hand, ignoring its summoning condition. So this is why I play the extra Ultimate Pounds, is because of that being able to just special summon them off of the Ancient Gear Frame, which is really, really, really cool. 3 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. Hunting Hound is really good in the deck too, because Hunting Hound lets you fusion summon with its particular ability, which can really, really help out the deck. And also, when it is summoned, normal summon, you get to inflict 6 arm points of damage to your opponent, which is really, really cool as well. And then for the last Ancient Gear card, we play 1 copy of Ancient Gear Box. You only need the single copy of Ancient Gear Box. Really, to be honest, I don't even really want to play Ancient Gear Box, but it's a good searcher, because if it's added from your deck to your hand, except by drawing it, you can add a Earth Machine monster with 500 attack or defense from your deck to your hand, which is actually your copies of Ancient Gear Frame. You can search those, or it can even, well, that's the only one it can search. So it's just a good searcher for the Ancient Gear Frames, because you want to get them to your hand to be able to use them as fusion material. So then I play 2 copies of Gold Gadget and 2 copies of Silver Gadget. I just play the 2 and the 2, which is all the monsters I actually play in the entire deck. The Silver and Gold Gadgets really help out in this deck because they get you additional monsters on the field to go into stuff like Platinum Gadget, and get your Ancient Gear Hunting Hounds on the field, and get your Ancient Gear Frames on the field, and if you need to overlay, you can overlay in this deck. So that's pretty much it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing quite a few spells in this deck. We're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming, because Terraforming gets us to Ancient Gear, or Gear Town. 2 copies for the fusion spells. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Power Bond, because Power Bond really, really helps out to be able to special summon a big Ancient Gear monster. 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion, which is a really interesting card, which is a short print, and it's really expensive for some reason, but you get to fusion summon an Ancient Gear monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand and or field as materials. And if you use Ancient Gear Golem or Ancient Gear Ultimate Pound, you control as fusion material, you can also use monsters from your deck as material. So it lets you fusion summon from deck as well if you use an Ancient Gear Golem or an Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound that you control. So, but the only thing that really sucks is you have to have it on the field. That's the only thing that's a downside about this card. One copy of Overload Fusion. I just play the single copy of Overload Fusion because it's a good late game card to be able to activate to go into your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, which can really help out in the deck. 2 copies of Twin Twister because we just don't want to deal with back row in this deck. 2 copies of Limit Removal because it can help OTK in this deck. And then 3 copies of Ancient Gear Town. Ancient Gear Town lets both players normal summon Ancient Gear monsters for 1 less tribute, and then when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which is usually going to be Reactor Dragon, so you can, react to your opponent's cards, which is really nifty. 3 copies of Ancient Gear Catapult. Ancient Gear Catapult is when you control no monsters, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls, or a face-up card you control and destroy it, which is usually going to be Gear Town or your Ancient Gear Fortress. And then special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which really helps us out with Ancient Gear Fusion to be able to get into those extra plays. And then it has the ability that you can banish it from the graveyard and then target a face-up card you control and destroy it. So it destroys a second card, which can get us more cards on the field, and then destroy it. And if you do special summon 1 Ancient Gear token, which is a level 1/0/0, which can help us out again with having extra cards on the field. Then we play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Fortress, which is a wall of text, but basically what it does is during either player's turn, during the turn when a normal or special summon, during the turn they were normal or special summon, your opponent cannot target Ancient Gear monsters you control with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and then your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Ancient Gear cards, so it just provides additional protection. But if this card is destroyed in your spell and trap card zone, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your hand or graveyard, which is really good to be able to get out on the field. But basically what you're going to want to do is get Gear Town out and then activate something like Ancient Gear. You're going to want to get these 2 out and then activate Catapult to be able to pop both of these to special summon Reactor Dragon off of the Reactor Dragon off of this, and then Reactor Dragon off of this, and then Ancient Gear Golem off of this to be able to swarm the field with all sorts of stuff. And then we play 3 copies of Call by the Grave because we don't want to get hand trapped in this deck. That is so important to not get hand trapped in this deck because we send so many cards from our deck to the graveyard. If you can stop that 1 Ash Blossom with a Call by the Grave, you're okay, and you're going to OTK 9 times out of 10. Because even if you stop the Ash Blossom, even if you don't stop the Ash Blossom, you're still probably going to be okay, because even off of the Ancient Gear Catapult, you're still popping something else, and you're not chain blocking, but you are kind of chain blocking, because they can only get one or the other. They can't get both. So you're still going to get a monster, so you can still special summon something. But this card is probably the best card in the entire deck. And that's why Wyvern's so good, because you just want to normal summon Wyvern and then go off with Wyvern to be able to add so many, or just special summon all the other cards. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. I don't play Ancient Gear Reborn. I don't think it's that great of a card. I kind of just want to go for the OTK in this deck. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Chaos Ancient Gear Giant is basically the big beat stick. Well, they're all big beat sticks, but this is a bigger beat stick. Must be fusion summon, cannot be special summoned by other ways, and it's unaffected by the effects of spell or trap effects. And then your opponent's monsters cannot activate their effects during the battle phase, and this card can make attacks on all monsters your opponent controls once each. And this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. So 4,500, inflicts piercing damage, and can attack every single monster. 2 copies of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem is really big and really nasty. Basically what it does is it inflicts piercing damage, and if it is destroyed while it's on the field, you can target an Ancient Gear Golem in your graveyard and special summon it, ignoring summoning conditions. This card does require 3 cards to put into it, but 4,400 is nothing to sneeze at. 1 copy of Megaton. I just play a single copy of Megaton because it's generic. And it's usually, I just go into this 1 time anyways. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps until the end of the battle phase. And if this card was fusion summoned using 2 or more Ancient Gear Golems or Ultimate Pounds as materials, it can attack up to that many times during the battle phase. And if this card is fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon an ultimate Ancient Gear Golem from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So that's why I usually make this first and then let them get rid of it and then summon ultimate, which is really, really good. 3 copies of Howitzer. Howitzer is really good in the deck because you just summon this with like Power Bond or something, and it's unaffected by other card effects. During the main phase, you can inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent, and then you can only use this effect once per turn. And then if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. That's why it's so easy to get to Ancient Gear Golem in this deck. Like, you just want to make that and then go after your opponent. 2 copies of Platinum Gadget because of its link arrows. That's the only reason I play this, and because we play gadgets in the deck, because if it's destroyed, then you can special summon a gadget from your deck. 1 copy of Boral Sword to OTK, which we don't have enough of that already. Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters, and Unicorn to bounce monsters. And then I play a single copy of Garganta X, because Garganta X is really good in the deck to be able to search your Earth Machine monsters or your Machine monsters from your deck to your hand, the ones you particularly need. And that's it. That's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun to be able to play Ancient Gears. This deck is a deck that will catch your opponent off guard really, really quickly and OTK them, especially if they don't know what you're playing and you're just like, hey, Power Bomb, and they're like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. And then you make Megaton at 66 and attack with it, and then they get rid of it, and they're like, oh, Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, attack again, you win. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed playing around with this deck. It's super fun. I really recommend that you guys give it a shot, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.